was a cold, dark Sunday, and I brewed this cup and I said, so satisfactory, exactly what I wanted to ease my sorrows. So we're talking today about what's coffee, right? This is Ted's Riverview Coffee. I do roast order coffee subscriptions in the top 1% of the world's supply. I also teach you everything you need to know to get world-class coffee in the comfort of your own home. So if it's your first time on the channel and you'd like to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Also hit the bell notifications button so you can always be notified when I put up a new post. All right, so today we're talking about how should my coffee taste? Well, there's different kinds of coffees from all around the world, and they all have their own flavor profiles. So really, there's not any one way coffee should taste. There's also, as most people know, roast levels, right? And some brands of these days try to do away with roast levels because they don't want it to be about choosing coffee based on roast. They want people to appreciate each of those different coffees for exactly what they are without any kind of preconceived notion. Doesn't sound possible, does it? I know I've been drinking this Starbucks for years. Coffee should taste like Starbucks, right? It's black, it's oily, smells like I was camping. That's what I like. And I had people, they told me I was full of crap. You don't know what you're talking about. I know my coffee's great. And then years later, they're saying to me, you think you like what you have. And then one day you realize, actually, there are things that are better out there. And that's the whole point of what I do, right? So, yes, if you're aiming for something that just tastes really intensely strong like smoke and coal and ash and can be described as coffee, and you just love the feeling of like more is better, stronger is better, all that stuff, then yeah, Starbucks will work okay. And actually letting the coffee get old and really stale will help too, because I know this sounds silly, but when people get really used to drinking coffee that's 6 months to 2 years old before they even brew it, after, I'm talking 6 months to 2 years old after roasting, they're expecting that. They're expecting that extremely stale flavor out of the coffee. When you give them something fresh, they're like, there's nothing here. This is so flat, right? And it's kind of funny after a while, because years ago I bought coffee like that and I had no idea what the hell I was doing until I started having really great coffee. I got time to experience it and get used to it and then figure out what the differences were. But so that's one kind of coffee. And if you're aiming for that and you have no interest in learning anything more, probably not on the channel. But if you came across the channel and you want to stay at that point and not move forward at all, then you want to make sure that even if you do get a fresh coffee, you want it to be really, really, really burnt, and you want it to be sitting for a really long time. And it'll also help to grind it ahead of time and then let it sit for weeks or whatever, so you can make it taste more like what you've had. But if you actually want to have something better than like having, because that's kind of like going to like a really bad restaurant that uses old food and doesn't know how to cook, but if you might like that or whatever, and that's fine. And then you could get dark roasts. Like the dark roasts I do, they're actually aimed so that there's character and profile and personality in them, but you still taste a little bit of that roasty, smoky flavor that you expect from dark roast. And right when you get to a certain point in the roasting, as a roaster, it gets to a certain point and boom, anything past that point, you're going to smell and taste that smoke and roastiness in there, which is like the sugars and the coffee starting to burn and a little bit of that blackening happening. I try not to go too far, but I do have certain people that, they really want that and they're willing to pay to get coffee that's past its prime just so it tastes a certain way. And there are even moments where I will brew myself a real French, deep, intense roasted coffee that's fairly fresh, and I'll enjoy that contrast. I don't like coffee that's oily, and I don't like coffee that's been roasted so it could be any kind of organic manner roasted, but people like it, and hey, that's what they like, right? And what I think is awesome to share with people is like a medium roasts coffees. So let's talk about these dark roasts more. In the dark roasts, you're going to get some good chocolate flavors when you don't go too far. You're going to get some like brown sugary toasted sweetnesses in there. Even like you get coffee that's got an amazing amount of character, you can dark roast it a little and you're still going to taste some of that character. Like some of the natural processed coffees that are dried inside the fruit, the pits are dried in there, the fruit soaks in, the juices soak into the beans, and you roast that one a little bit darker, not crazy dark, but darker, you're still gonna get some of that character in there. And there's some good dark roasts out there where they almost have that chocolate covered blueberry kind of note, and that's what my Toscana Italian roast is like. It's got some of that natural processed coffee in it. It's got a good, bold Latin American coffee to be an anchor for it and give it that general chocolatey, crowd-pleasing kind of profile. And you put those together and bam, I had a customer that used to always be like, oh, this one's not right for us, that one's not right for us. And they were major dark roast people. And they would buy some other brand coffees and be like, oh, I like those, whatever. And so I was trying to get something that they'd really like. That's how I invented the Toscana Italian roast coffee, because I like to please people. I like to take something and say, hey, maybe this person's used to this. Well, what if I could get something that's really high quality and satisfy them and make them really love it? You know what they told me when I came back after the first time I got them that coffee? They said, you hit a home run on that one. So I was like, awesome. I kept it on the menu. It's always been popular. Toscana Italian roast. For those traditionalists that want something with more character, something more unique, that aren't afraid to taste a little bit of something that they're not sure what it is, or even if it's that forbidden word fruit in coffee. You have the people that are coffee geeks and coffee nerds, and then you have more of those traditionalist older folks that are like used to what they were drinking, you know, when they started drinking coffee, right? So there's that. There's the caramel notes. So you're gonna get like different flavors of sugars that are usually like in browning characteristics, between caramel all the way to brown sugar to toffee and different sweetnesses like that. And then you're going to get the different kind of chocolates, from milk chocolate to semi-sweet to dark to ultra dark, you know, 70, 80, 90% cacao chocolates where they have that bittering note that's actually wanted in there. So those are the kind of profiles you get with a dark roast. And sometimes like a dark fruit, like a purplish kind of fruit note when it's roasted to that level, but you can still actually taste some of the fruit in it. And you'll get that from some of the Kenyas. And so those Kenyas, they're expensive and they're really special coffees. And I'll see some of these dark roasting companies, I'm sure they're buying like a B or C grade Kenya, but they still have an amazing amount of fruit and they're fairly, you know, decent coffees, and they'll roast them dark. And I've had ones where they're like, wow, this tastes like water, I don't notice anything. And it's like, to me, it just tastes super burnt, you know, but it's all based on what you're used to. So then it's enough about the dark roasts. And the medium roasts, those are the toasty brown ones. And you look at the actual visual appearance of the coffee, and you're going to see that it's like a really smooth brown. It's like this even roast, but it doesn't have any hint of black. It doesn't have any hint of smell that's smoky or burnt at all, because nothing is burnt in the coffee yet. It's just toasted nicely. And I usually akin that to, well, like a nice brown toasted bread or a nice brown toasted nut, where you get that aroma of like a cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie with that brown kind of sweet flavor. You get those grain characteristics, you get those sweet sugar characteristics, you get those toasted nut characteristics, and you get a little bit of that chocolate in there. That's how I would describe a medium roast coffee. It's like the profile of a chocolate nut cookie that's cooked just right. Then you go into the lighter roast coffees, and you're going to notice more of actually the characteristics of that particular terroir more, which means, you know, the region where it's grown, the soil type, that kind of tree. When you look at a coffee tree, and this is a big thing I think happens with people that always expect their coffee to be super dark or even really deeply medium, is that they have no idea where coffee comes from. So to them, they don't realize that coffee is this tree that has all these fruits on it and these beautiful flowers, and that the flower smells so sweet and the fruit tastes so sweet and fruity. And then they're so far removed from that original form of the coffee that they have a whole different vision. Coffee to them comes out of a bag or comes out of this place where the coffee comes out of smoking and roasting, right? And so when you actually start to discover what coffee's like, and if you could see the different kinds of trees growing, notice the varietals, notice where they're grown in the world, have some transparency, and see like the farmer and all the work they're putting into it, how they deal with harvesting it, how they deal with processing it and drying it, and seeing the way that the original characteristics of each of those coffees come, it gives you this whole new appreciation that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I think that's what happens when people get into light roasted coffees. Also, some tea lovers that are used to having those kind of flavors in tea, and they don't like the dark attributes in coffee, and so they appreciate those lighter roasted ones. And that's my mother, just anything I give her that is not dark roasted, she says tastes like tea. Even some of the dark roasts, she'll say they taste like tea, and I think it's just because she's so used to that roasty character. Now, I actually still have hope for her that she will slowly, as she tries some of these things, will notice the differences and almost believe more that maybe it does make a little bit of a difference, and start to actually experience some other flavors that maybe before she wouldn't have been open to. It's like so many other people, she's just someone I have an emotional investment in, of course. But the light ones, you know, you're going to taste some of those flower notes. You're going to taste some of those fruit notes that are inherent in that actual type of coffee grown in that kind of condition, just the same as you would in a certain strawberry varietal or certain peach varietal. And the real challenge and fun part of it is roasting it to bring those things out without obscuring those flavors, but without making it so light that it's not appreciative as a coffee. So that's somewhere I've gotten, is right into a sweet spot of it still feeling like it's coffee, but having those special characteristics. And that's what I love about light roast coffees, is really getting to try a different thing each day. And it's like having a different cut of steak or a different kind of cheese, right? And I went to a cheese producer as an artisan cheese shop. He has all these great cheeses. He doesn't make any of them, but he obviously loves and appreciates the different cheeses. And he ordered some coffee from me, and he said, oh, I just want, 5 pounds of dark roast. And I said, well, I've got some different ones you can try and then see what your favorite one is. And he said he's not into the gimmick. It's all the same to him. And even though he loves cheeses and all different types of cheese, he doesn't realize that there is any difference in coffee. He thinks it's just a gimmick. And that's almost like if you went to this cheese guy and you said, I just want 5 pounds of cheese. And if he gave you anything besides cheddar or jack, you would say, well, they're all the same. Like, don't try to gimmick me, right? Like, so I get that he just hasn't had the experiences to appreciate the differences, or know, maybe it's based on the brewing. Maybe it's based on he's just never even had coffee like that. And that happens with so many people all the time, every day out there. And when you get to any kind of product or industry or hobby or thing that you enjoy, or some people enjoy it, there's going to be, the majority of people aren't going to know, right? So that's what I'm here to do, is, give all this expertise that I have, all this experience I have, all these different things compiled into one place where you could get a wealth of knowledge and completely transform your reality and your experience and bring it to a whole new level you never even had any idea was possible before. And that's what was beautiful when I got started, that made me want to share it with people. So with these light roast coffees, I talk about different growing regions and different types of coffee in another video. If you haven't seen that one, go back and check it out. And you'll see how I describe each of the different terroirs around the world and what their flavor profiles are. And in the meantime, what you can do is go onto the website, riverviewcoffeeroasters.com. You can look at the menu. You're going to see I'm going to have a few different light roasts from different places in the world with different flavor profiles, the same with medium roasts and the same with dark roasts. And go ahead and try some different ones out and experiment with it and have fun seeing what you can do. And when you don't get the flavor you want, adjust your way you're brewing it. Talk to me, ask me questions, leave comments on my page. You can contact me directly through the website. There's a lot of ways you can do this, and I enjoy working it out with you, talking to you, getting it just the way you like. Locally in this area in Santa Cruz County, California, I'll go to people's homes and I'll work on their brewing and get it just the way they want it. But I always try to remind people that anytime you don't get a result you want, you can change it with the grind, with the way you brew. And I got an awesome comment on my page the other day where someone was saying the grind was everything. And they were noticing, after watching my video on grind and why it matters, which is another one, go check that one out. And that's going to be one of the most important factors you're going to have in preparing your coffee, is how you grind it. And they said, wow, they were noticing that it makes a huge difference in how they do it. And it changes the coffee completely. So have fun, enjoy your coffee, aim for what you're going for, open your mind, try new things you didn't know were possible, listen to people. That's how I got into it, is I thought I knew. I only did things a certain way. And one day I thought, well, maybe I should actually listen and try the things that I'm being told by people that are really serious in this industry. Maybe they know because they're experts. So I started trying what they suggested, and that's when everything changed for me. I'm Ted, signing off. See you on the next one.